once you hear that song, is Court in Session with me, Elk. And for this first segment, we have Kelan Phillips, the Avenger Only One. Kelan, before we start though, I want to put a disclaimer out. Um, I want to put a disclaimer out tonight because some things will be said tonight that people will get upset about. I'm going to say, if you get upset, remain upset because we really don't care. Right? So we are not going to lie on anybody, nor we are not going to belittle anyone. We are just talking what is out there, and and if it is out there, and of course, a number of people can look at the same situation and come up with different conclusions, but we are just drawing our own conclusions. So I don't want people to really get upset. I was accosted at the last basketball game I went to that I don't talk about his club enough. And then he promptly went on to get me by 50. So I will not even engage. It will not bother me if you get upset. Let me say that. Right? We will not tell any lies on anybody, and we will not be cruel intentionally. If you think it's cruel, then we apologize, but you gotta hold it. Right. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there so people wouldn't think that we picking on anybody. Now, the day around up for week 2. Yeah. Really, it was more of the same. It's boiling down to like you really only got 3 teams. And basically the 4th team could either be Pirates or Lakers. And then after that is their crapshoot. Bears, I'm not sure if they will make an impression. I know it'll be difficult when you first come up. The speed of the game, understanding that the game is a little more physical, and basically you're the new boy, so everybody's saying new meat. So everybody coming on to just make sure the new people don't be there. So you'll be in a tight spot. But Warriors, they got blown again. Pioneers got blown twice. So Lakers got blown twice. So basically it will boil down to a 3-team tournament. Now, going around the games last week. You had the first on Wednesday. Yes, played on Wednesday. Just let me make sure that I am not telling lies on anybody because people getting really upset. Ben Schmidt told me I'm not speaking about his team a lot. And then probably went out and get beat by nearly 50. So I was going to say, if I see him, I say, that is the reason. But I didn't see him. I didn't see him after that. Right. So he has some situations where they have bare blown games on Wednesday, and then Sunday it was much of the same. The big game between Bulls and Station Hill didn't turn out to be what everybody thought it would be. Bulls went down, but I understand you don't win a championship in the first round, so I really don't. I'm not. While I think Cavaliers playing really well, they beat him Bulls. I don't see that as that they are going to win championship or dethrone Bulls. I'm saying that you gotta wait to see second round. If they beat the second round, then it'll go a different story. It might start to think a different way. But that was the first game. That was Bulls' was second game or third.
That was our third game.
Yeah. Right, our third game, and not only your third game, but your third game of consequence. The other two were like, So, but I must give kudos to the Cavaliers because they started well, and also I must give kudos to the MVP, the league MVP, which is Devron Knight. He's lighting up the league again.
More
Um,
than 30.
yeah, well, he didn't score heavily against Bulls, but he did
Yeah,
enough to keep them afloat.
yeah,
I saw Gavin playing, Gavin Phillips. I'm I'm a fan of his. I just think that he needs to take care of his body a little bit more, and I know try to get some rest and try to make sure he gets his fuels. Yeah, for a young man, he's getting crap too regular,
yeah.
right? So I just
I
think
think
he
so.
needs to take care of his body a little bit more. But he's really exciting. Had a really nice dunk against who it was against Lakers. It was against Lakers, yeah. And
I
then
think so. Yeah.
yeah, and then I think and then probably must return the favor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so
Oh, yeah.
that was a fairly nice sequence. But I must admit that I Cavaliers play one way and they play that way better than everybody else. And you gotta give them kudos. So they should be interesting going forward. You'll see what they do going forward. You'll see in the second round how things go. Celtics seem to be the cream of the crop right now. They're just rolling over everybody. So we'll see when they do play the Bulls and Cavaliers, how those games go. Right. That is the roundup. Anything you want to add for the roundup there, Kelan?
Nah, just really, as we already said, um, Cavs played a good game. Kudos to them, as you said. Um, it was some other games too. Traders and Bears was a close contest for like 3.5 quarters, and then Bears pulled away in the end. So like I think the final score was like hold on, let me find it.
I think
It was like 94 to like 81 or something like that. But that was not like a I want to say a true indicator of like that game. Like it was a 1 point. It was it was a back and forth affair for most of the game up until that the end of the fourth.
84-81.
Yeah. So Bears they pull it in the win for in the end for their first win. But yeah, as you said, a lot of the games were blown. Oh, I must highlight too that Warriors and Lakers game is also slightly misleading. Like that is yes, it's a 14 point game for win for Lakers, but actually it was kind of similar to how Bears and Schoolboys went. Like the score for Lakers and Warriors, they were tied in going into the fourth. So that was a close game up until later on the fourth where the Lakers started to like pull away. So those are two games that were a lot closer than indicated than the final score. But yeah, pretty much all the rest of the games kind of yeah.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
However, the BABA apparently made a controversial, and some consider controversial, demotion and promotion rule
Decision.
for the new season. I could understand why they would do that. I would understand why they do that, but and I can't understand some of the arguments that I hear to me don't really make a lot of sense. Like for example, somebody said the reason why the pool is small is because the youngsters don't get to go on tours, right? But when I look at the Premier
Sure.
League teams and see how many Premier League teams how many Premier League teams have junior teams. You only got like four. So really and truly, you're not you're not promoted within. You kind of like get somebody player. I know Lakers had a problem a couple years ago where they were training a lot of junior players and then all of them went and played for another club. And and it was interesting. The club tour after that too. So it was interesting. That was an interesting thing. So I think Lakers decided that you'll have to join the club if you really want to work with them because I know that Coach Brown and Coach Shepard was putting in a lot of work with some young people. And then then one Saturday, all of them end up down. Actually, I think Coach Shepard was telling me he turned up at a game and see one of the players playing for the next club. He didn't even tell him anything, right? So I know that Lakers have something down there. I know that Bulls have something. I know Penguins have something, right? Cavaliers. But then after that, it's hazy, right? Things hazy because, so to me, that's not an argument to say if the pool's small, if you're telling me that the pool is small, why should they extend the pool to 8? Let me say that the schoolboy's in for developmental purposes. That's a done deal. It makes no sense arguing about that. That's a done deal. You don't expect the schoolboys to be, leading league. You expect them to compete. The problem that schoolboys are having lately is that because the pool is small, as soon as the schoolboy get a little thing, a club is pulling away, right? So then you end up a situation where they're having attrition. They have got a lot of players leaving. They can't seem to have these two teams and about seasons. I noticed this season though they were able to retain a couple of players, but they're still fairly young and they're still working, trying to work out stuff, right?
Very
So
young. I think it's like I may got the numbers wrong, but it's roughly in this ballpark. It's like 6, 7 or whatever new like people playing and for schoolboys playing prem for the first time.
right,
And I always tell people quick about schoolboys like I don't understand the whole you can't treat schoolboys the same way as other prem teams. Other prem teams are let me use this Bulls quick for example. The core of players that have been there, like me, Marsh, Drew, or Raheem. We've all been there at a bare minimum since 2019. It's 7 years. Yes, I had the COVID, bro, but that's still
yeah,
7 years now, right? Where you could keep that core. You literally can't keep that core at school boys. You have to treat it like a college program because they have an age limit. So when
yeah,
20 years hit, they can't play for schoolboys anymore. So they have to leave. So there's always gonna be a year or so, or there's always gonna be a low where there are no probably getting a new crop, right? Mix with maybe one or two of the ones that were there, which is currently what's happening now. And then if you can keep those guys together for 2 or 3 years, then you can build. The last time that actually happened was Simon and Melo
yeah,
and Dijon and Bramo. Like that group came to together, and then they started to progress. Unfortunately, COVID hit, and that took away maybe I think one or two because at that time after COVID hit, Dijon aged out. So no, Dijon can't play anymore. And it's just like there's always gonna be a little restart because they are basically a college program. So asking them to be competitive all the time is a little bit unrealistic.
yeah.
Like
But
every single year,
as
yeah.
as like you said, that is a given. So you
Yeah.
need those there, yeah. Now just take a look at it. It was the top three, then there was Lakers, then it was the
Mm,
bottom four.
mm,
But what happened to the Pinelands? It was Pinelands, Heat, Schoolboys, and Warren.
orange.
Right. One of those teams get beat by 100. Probably nearly get beat 100 twice. You can't got your Premier League basketball playing, and the disparity is so wide. You can see it. Now, if the BABA has summer programs where the junior players get a chance to play, if the clubs, if Premier League clubs had junior programs, we would not be in this situation here because you'll be working on improving your talent to put in the Premier League team. I don't see these. I don't see the rationale that you're telling me that these people got to go overseas. The reason why they're not playing is because they don't get to go overseas. The we know junior basketball in the Caribbean. No one wants to host junior basketball because
Host.
they say that end up being a loss, right? So they don't want to host it. And then what will happen is then Central Basket might have a age group tournament and they're missing one team or one team short. And they say, okay, Barbados, come. and then we go there and get torment, right? Because you're going at a different level. I am not saying that you don't need regional competition. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that can't be the reason why the talent pool is this small. The talent pool is small because clubs are not looking to build junior programs and make a player and bring him and put it in the Premier League team. Every time you see a fellow go in a Premier League team, he's from another team, another Premier League team. You could count the amount of people that came up through a system. It probably is Bulls, Lakers, Cavaliers, not Celtics for sure, right? You understand me? Like Pinelands has got people coming up. So I'm saying that the clubs got to decide if I got a junior program and I could feed into my teams, the pool will get a little bigger, right? I must admit also, and I would not argue this point, that if I can entice a fella that he's going to get play in a regional tournament, he might be able to get a chance to play a regional tournament, he might want to play basketball, right? I'm not going to say that that can't be it, but I'm saying if that is it, then you're wrong people playing basketball, right? Because if you are telling me that you have to get incentive to play, when we know that no one gets paid besides the boys that overseas that play, right? So I think that's where the problem comes. So in the NBA institute this rule, there was some discussion about it. Some people think it's unfair that they should know early. I don't know if I tell a team earlier that they're going to demote two teams what you're going to do to make things better. You can practice harder, you can add something further, you bring somebody from overseas. I don't understand. I just don't get it, right? I mean, they get upset with me, but the truth is the truth, right? I mean, if you got a team that playing down the bottom every year, and only being able to stay up by just beating the team that come up, then what you want the NBA to do? I see where the NBA have a problem. They understand that they got a problem and they're trying to fix it. I think that we as a community got to come together and decide how we can fix the problem. And I think the problem, if we are saying that we got 60 players, having 6 teams is fine, right? You understand? That's the way I say it. And I'm not saying that in the authority. I'm saying that's what I say. If you don't say it that way, that's fine. And we can agree to disagree, that's not a problem. But I think that's where the problem comes in with the BABA. And if you look at it, I mean, like, as you were saying, like, 2 games out of how many? 10, 12, right? They close. 2.
Yeah.
And they still ended the game blows. So I'm saying to you, you know what I mean? Like, we got to decide. I mean, like, I watched the first game, and the disappointing thing that I see is that the first game of the season, you struggling to get players. I don't get that. I don't get that. Right? Then I always have this issue with sports council and coaching in school league. Because sports council is trying to be the great equalizer, always trying to be a great equalizer. But I always say, if you are going to try to equalize for a school that is not interested in basketball, then something wrong, right? So if you're trying now to appease teams that are perennially not good, then what do you want to have? And these people, then we gotta get national players out of this group. Now, then the fellow scored 40 points or 48 points, and I think he's playing really well. But he played against, he's not playing against defenses that are not the best, no rotations, those sort of things. And then, you hear people, oh, this boy should go for a national tour, that boy should go for a national tour. When you go on a national tour, you're playing credits. You're playing professional basketball players, people that play there every day. And we got to be honest with ourselves. If you want to play at a high level, you got to practice at a high level, you got to work at a high level, and you got to improve your body.
Yeah. I agree with most of what you said. The only thing that I disagree on, well, we haven't even touched on it yet, right? In terms of there's another rule about the demoting team that is coming up, right? Having to basically play like a little mini series against that team to go up. Here's the one thing that I don't like that. And the reason why I don't like that is because if I'm not mistaken, it's either at the award show or yeah, because then when the article was printed in the paper, he had some quotes about. He said that there's been a gap between the top four and the bottom four, right? In Prem. And then he's also acknowledged that there's a gap between Prem and First Division, right? If you're acknowledging that there's a gap between Prem and First Division, I think it's then unfair for you to ask a First Division team that hasn't gotten the chance to recruit other players to actually compete against a Premier League team and have a chance to actually come up. Because like remember those when the summer that little summer tournament when basketball had first started back, it was a mixture of Prem
Yeah.
and First Division team, right?
Yeah.
Spartans was like maybe a five, six ranked team in Prem, and they were beating First Division teams, but like 30, right? Granted, they had a definitely a Premier League level player in TO, yes, but like they were still like beating teams badly. So they expect that a Prem team, so our first winning team to be able to compete with even the lower teams when you acknowledge that there is a gap, I think that's a bit unfair. Like the only way that for those teams that are coming up is even have a chance is by recruiting other players, right? Because there's like but less real like there's a reason why they're in first division, right? It's not Premier League level talent. So they know when you trying to stay in Prem, you have to keep. For example, Celtics when they came up it was a bunch of the old guys. The old guys did their thing to come up. And how they stayed up was trying and recruiting a bunch of other players. If that old team had stayed in, like if they had played Prem, they would have gone right back down. Like they would have had even had a chance against the current Prem team. So that is one rule that I think is a bit unfair for the first division team. But the two teams, yeah, like the gap is too wide. The gap is really too wide. It's not even like top three. Sorry, it's not even like top three, right? You can see like top three, and then like four, five, and then like six, seven, eight. It's like top three. You can no longer see my hand because it's on the floor, and
Yeah.
that is 4, 5. That is the 4, 5, and then 10 feet under my house is 6, 7, 8. So like it is such a disparity. Like yes, it's early up in the season, but Pinelands and Lakers, two teams that we are saying are fighting for that 4 and 5, right? Lakers played. Yes, they were missing one or two players, but Lakers played Cavs, Celtics, and Bulls, and pretty much all games was losing by 30. Pine just played Cavs and Celtics and lost those games by pretty much 30. We can see now when Bulls have to play Pine on Saturday. If that's another blow, like that just shows that this is really a three-team league. So something has to be done. It's kind of like when Adam Silver, just trying to find something for the All-Star game, right? You just try and date different formats, trying certain things and see if it works. Because obviously, what was happening at the time was not a suitable product, right? People are gonna disagree. People are gonna have their thoughts on what should be done and what shouldn't to be done. It's a short term fix, yes. Then hopefully, maybe it could continue. Maybe we could find other ways to, you know, build in terms of youth basketball, and then that will keep the pool and the talent up and go from there. But
Yeah. What we'll do though,
I mean, it is what it is.
I will force the Premier League teams. If you want to play Premier League, you have to some sort of youth program.
You
Right?
program, yeah,
Right? You gotta have
yeah,
some sort of youth program, and that means and it means no that you adopt a school or just go around looking for
in
players
yeah,
and not just pull
in the
players
area.
that's going to take Bulls players or take Lakers players and pull them in and saying that
Yeah.
you got a program because pulling players from somewhere else and then saying you got a program to me that don't really make sense. You don't got no program. You got a good recruiter, right? So that's it. But the other thing that I want to say to right is I did some research for the top four and the bottom four, right? And I look at the 2025 season. when the top four plays the bottom four, the average winning margin was 35. When the top four play the bottom four. Now, when they say the bottom four, I mean 5 and 6. 5, the fella barely missed the playoffs.
Barely missed playoffs.
And 6. Right? We ain't talking about the schoolboys yet, nor the other team that get me there. We talk about 5 and 6. 5, the fella barely made the playoffs. And then you say the top 3 versus the rest is even worse.
Yep.
Right? So that is the reality, that is the numbers. A lot of people take numbers and try to manipulate them to suit their argument, but the argument cannot be that everything is fine. As one person said, "Oh, them enjoy the game." Really? I mean, you enjoy watching people laying up. One team getting beat by 40, and the other team so bored that they start throwing away the ball just because they're bored. Right? I mean, like, it was just like, I saw Celtics players just get bored. I mean, they just start doing things that they don't really have to do. They just, they were just bored. So they just start shooting for anyway and, doing anything. So we have to do something. They got short-term measures that you got to put in. They got longer-term measures that could bear fruit in the long term. If you're telling me, I think Premier League teams should go junior programs, and the BABA already has junior summer jam for the juniors. What is missing is being able to play originally. That is not their fault. Unless you go, and the thing about touring when it is not an official tournament is that they don't get funding for sending a team to St. Lucia to play a good Bill series.
Yeah, so you basically got to put out all the pocket.
Right, so you will either go and tell the people to go and pay it, or the baby pull that. Now, we all know that the baby struggled till the playoffs. When the playoffs, then you see crowds coming, everybody coming. And obviously, there's a reason, catch-22 situation. They know that the things this real far apart. There's a real, real disparity between the top and the bottom. So when you hear Warren's going to play Celtics, you don't leave him home, right? I mean, I apologize to Warren's, I apologize to Celtics, but you leave him home. You look at the webcast online and you see these squares, right? You don't want to just go and just see people in it, and then you want fight and things that don't really make a lot of sense to basketball, right? So the baby has to do something, and I understand what they're trying to do, but I agree, with the promotion thing. I don't know how they can fix that. What I would do is I would not promote anybody, right, for at least 2 years. You understand? I will not promote anybody because I really feel that just to bring a fella just to say bring you to send it back down, right? I mean, like, to me that really don't. And I watched some of the first division games. A lot of people that played in first division that were ex-Premier League players that are playing off of memory and still better than everybody down there. Right? You understand me? So it is what it is. I don't like talking bad about basketball, but I'm sorry. But we gotta do something about it. It's with the clubs. If the clubs start to really work and work at the clubs, work as a club and raise the level, we will not have this problem. We have this problem because you can see 3 teams in practice, and then you're really sure about the rest. Right? I said they don't practice and say you really are not sure about the rest.
Sure, yeah.
Because then you turn up, like I saw like people trying to run high pick and roll, right? I mean, if you're running high pick and roll and you don't have a good point guard, and the man that setting his screen is not a good outside shooter, play something else. Because all everybody can do is play under the screens, clog the middle, and you will have nothing, right? And what I found what Celtics was doing, was sending people to the side and then doubling them. And I'm trying to stop the first 2 outlet passes. So then they try to start the first or left passes. So you're gonna make that pass from this side across the court. They're saying once they do that, they got enough time to get back in position. Right? And most of the time they turn over the basketball, go on the other
Yeah.
side.
Got his ceiling going. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, like I ain't saying a lot of imagination either for coaches. I'm sorry, I apologize to you. But I ain't saying a lot of imagination, like, people, players trying to coaches trying to throw things and blah blah blah. But I go also got let's say it got to be you can't try any things, man, whatever you try scoring. Right? You're gonna
You're
wait
right.
for the good teams like then for you to be here try things. And that's not a real
Mhm.
good way of doing it. You will let it, work out some of your kinks before you meet the big teams.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Not have to use the big teams as semi practice
yeah,
for later down in the season. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. I actually understand because like no matter and it's something I even have at a school league level. Like sometimes I would try to practice like play against some of the lesser teams and like I'll try to run stuff against the lesser teams, but it's not the same as when you're playing against the bigger teams. So
Yeah.
yeah, I get what you're saying.
All right. Up next is the Bajan Scout, Alan Pender, and with the NBA segment. And now we are joined by the Bajan Scout. That is Alan Pinder. Alan, I can go you first, since that me and Kelan was talking all along. The new All-Star segment. What do you think about it? Do you get a passing grade? What do you think about the new All-Star format?
Yeah, I think the NBA found what it's been looking for a while. It actually got some competitiveness on All Star Sunday, which has been sorely lacking for quite a long time. I don't think it has much to do necessarily with the format of US versus world. I think the main thing has been the fact that they have 4 quarters and each quarter is essentially its own game. And it's kind of forcing guys to kind of play hard to win each quarter and essentially win each game. So I think that competition knockout format with each quarter is really the main thing. So even if next year they say not to do US versus world, but they still have 2 or 3 teams, well, maybe about 3 teams again, and the teams are competing against each other in like a knockout tournament. I think that was the key. I think Wemby also was a big factor. The fact that he came on, he unlike most other guys, he's able to really able to contribute and affect the game at a high level on both ends. He could come out and really try and dominate offensively. I think he can also try and dominate defensively to make sure the other guys have to run real offense to score. The guys it just can't be a layup drill. You just don't get a layup drill around Wemby if he wants to play defense. So in fact, he came out, he wanted to play offense and he wanted to play defense at a very high level. That kind of forced other guys to raise their game. Even Anthony Evers kind of mentioned it, saying that that Wemby kind of got the juices flowing where he was concerned. So you could actually try and play a lot harder and play a lot harder and make the game competitive. So I think the new format, particularly with Wemby's influence, was the major factor. So I think the NBA definitely found what they're looking for. But I don't think necessarily that has to be US rule going forward. But 4 quarters and each quarter being its own game on a knockout tournament, I think that's key.
What do you think, Kelan?
Yeah, I think it more has to do with Wemby, right? I think Wemby came out after the tip, and it was yeah, pour something down. I was like, oh, I see what going on here. I see, I like he was serious. Cause he did say that he is gonna compete, and when I saw that, I was like, all right, I can see what going on. And then a couple play in that first game, especially, he had 3 blocks, and I was like, wait, hold on. Not only that he come out and don't, but he's blocking shots in the All Star game. I was like, yeah, he really wants to win. And then even on the last possession, when because the world didn't end up winning any games despite them be giving so much effort, but it was on the last possession when a 3 beat them, and he was upset after the game. Like if you saw his body language, right, he was like he threw his hands up in the air, so he genuinely wanted to win. I talked about it. He said that when B um when we set the tone is what made Ant say, all right, yeah, guys, we got already play now. Right. And maybe you had a 1 or 2 still free dunks, however, but generally overall it was competitive. I liked it. And but as I say, doesn't necessarily have to do with the format. It was actually, you could argue, it was just the players just giving more effort, right? Funny enough, like the players just decided, hey, we can play. The Allen saying the quarter, the each separate game being a quarter that you kind of have to win. That is an interesting point. That might be a reason why they had to play hard. But it did give some good moments. Like Kawhi had 31 points in the second game, which is basically 31 points in a quarter. And when I was watching
Crazy.
that, I was like, yo, I think it was like 13 points straight. Like he was just on fire. Like, so that was a good moment. De'Aaron Fox had a game winner. So it did produce a lot of good moments except for the last game. The last game ended up being a
Yeah,
blow where I think the one of the USA teams won by like 24 in a quarter. So
yeah.
yeah,
You always got tired.
yeah. But other than that, I thought it was pretty good. So yeah, I like it. I like how All Star Weekend was.
Okay, um, anything that make it a little better than just a late fest,
Correct. Or
I'm
Dunk
all for.
Fest.
But so we'll see going forward. I leave my opinion for next year. Right. Now there's been this talk all around about tanking, and in the NBA, they've taken tanking to a new level. Actually, it's a science now.
Very much
And
so.
we want to know, well, a lot of people talk about tanking and if they got a tanking problem. I went looking to see if they're, like clubs that the bottom four were regular after tanking. There's some names that keep coming up, right? But I'll keep those names. Um, but yeah, do you think they got a tanking problem, Alan?
I'm not sure there's a real serious tanking problem. I mean, the real reason for the NBA draft is to get the best talent from college to the worst teams in the NBA. So naturally, the team, if you are already bad, I guess you're going to try to make sure you're in the best way, you're in the best realm to get a high pick, which would involve a measure of tanking. But if we even look at this season, if we look at the worst teams in the NBA this year, the Kings have the worst record. I think the Kings were legitimately throughout most of the season trying to win most of their games.
Yeah.
Indiana Pacers, throughout most of their season, they were actually trying to win most of their games, playing Pascal Siakam most a lot of minutes and whatnot. But injuries have really decimated Kings and the Pacers. The Nets also have been trying to win games, but they have a very young team that isn't going to be particularly good right now. Pelicans were not trying to lose because Pelicans do not have a draft pick this year. Their
They
draft picks
also
belong
weren't
to other
trading players
teams.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have the fourth worst record. They're not trying to lose; they're just bad. So I think that's really the case for most of the teams at the bottom. The teams are just bad for different reasons, in a combination of injuries and the roster just not being very good. I do think something they should do is probably to, I think, particularly for teams like the Pacers and the Wizards that made mid-season trades that can improve their rosters. If the cutoff date for when the the records are eligible for draft seeding, I think maybe if that cuts off maybe around All-Star break, I think that has been one of the measures suggested by the competition committee. I think that would actually be a good idea, so that probably teams like the Wizards and the Pacers, who probably could probably play a lot better coming out the end of the season, but they don't have incentive to, would probably finish the season a bit stronger. Because I think the Wizards, I think if Anthony Davis and Trae Young really won, so they probably could come back within the next few weeks, most likely. I think similar for the Jazz as well. The Jazz is essentially making sure all their guys are, in tip top shape and resting all their guys to make sure that they don't play come out the end of the season. But I think the main thing is that for most of the season, these teams are just bad for the most part. And I think the real tanking is really going to be the last maybe 20 or 25 games. That's when the real tanking happens. So I think if the NBA cuts off the records around All-Star break, so teams could just play and let things flow as it normally would, I think that's probably the best idea. But I think overall, I think the league is probably overreacting, particularly because this draft is seen as potentially generational. You have maybe 3 or 4 players that could be number 1 picks all in one draft. So that's why there's going to be a hyper focus on this draft as well. But I think overall these teams have just been very bad throughout the year. And trying or not, I think these teams for the most part have been trying, but I think for the rest of the year they definitely or will not be trying. So I think cut off draft season is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, what do you think, Kelan?
Yeah, I think that if the NBA had a list of things that they wanted to fix, I feel like draft like tanking is like 10th of importance of things that they want to fix. Like I don't think tanking is as nearly as a big a deal as they are making it out to be. As I said, based on this season alone, like a lot of teams were actually trying to win some are just bad. Like I think the Kings, the way how the Kings went about, they were genuinely trying to win games. Like they like it's not like they
Yeah.
had a bunch of young guys or whatever. Like they had Sabonis, DeRozan, Zach LaVine, they got Westbrook, Dennis Schroeder. Those are pieces that are indicating that you're trying to at least maybe sneak in a playing spot, right?
Yeah,
That's
that's
not a yeah, like that's not a team that is like, hey, we trying to lose as much games as possible or whatever, right? Because even on in a best case scenario, even if those guys play well, then maybe at the end it might carry out their value. They might get something for them, but they're still trying to play well at first, which could lead to wins, right? Just that the guys are just actually bad, right? That's the first thing. One of the suggestions that were made, I hate it to its core, and um if you read it, you would know. Sorry, you would know which one I am talking about. It is one where if you made the conference finals, they said that you can't pick top 4 next, right? Next year. I think that is the most baloney I've ever heard in my life
a little
because
targeted.
it seems a little targeted. I mean, oh, Holly, the Pacers were no in the conference finals. I know, right? But like, not even just Pacers, like the situation like Cavs years ago, like okay, Braun carries into the final, then Braun leaves. Like, so you mean to tell me that your superstar leaving, I'm supposed to still be good? Like that seems a bit unfair because your superstar could leave in the off season. Like there's no guarantee that you can keep him, right? So I feel that is a bit just an overreaction just in general, right? You're seeing some things about the back to back, picking in the top 4 back to back. That's also weird and just based off a little bit of luck. Like if you check the Spurs, right? The Spurs drafted Wemby, then they drafted Castle, right? Naturally, the progression is yes, you get a start. It's not everybody's not Magic Johnson. Everybody doesn't get drafted number 1, and then you just go to the
For
finals
the
down the
finals.
same year because you have Kareem, who is at worst the third best player ever, on your roster, still in his prime, right? So you're usually bad, and then you just keep building from there. Spurs actually won from Embiid's rookie year. They've won more games just every year, right? But the year that they got Stefan, not Castle, because that was the back to back. The year that they got Dylan Harper, they actually jumped. They were not like the second worst team in the league. They were slated to pick like 8, like they jumped like 8 spots, right? Miles also jumped high too. So it's like you're gonna penalize them for getting a high draft pick because of luck, right? Also, that if you make a trade to like the Hawks, because the Spurs made trades to the Hawks, and the Hawks were bad. That means that we can't get that pick because of the Hawks' incompetence. Like it's just a lot of things that like it's just weird. Generally speaking, if you're in the lottery for a bunch of years, it might mean that you just picking bad. Generally, you don't see the same teams in the lottery for 4, 5, 6 years in a row. Spurs was in lottery for like 2 years. Third year was the with Dylan Harper, and then they got out. Same with OKC. Same with there's another team I'm trying to remember. But the Pistons, even the Pistons were bad 2 years.
Yeah.
all right,
2 years ago.
and then now they're one of the top teams in the league. I just feel like there's so much more things that are more relevant and more important than tanking. But um, what I saw, what I was hearing too, is that maybe some of the sponsors for the NBA were kind of maybe pressuring,
Particular
the
sponsors.
yeah, particular sponsor pressuring the Ana Silva to make certain moves because of the way how things are going. The last point I will say though, the only thing that I don't like right now is how the Jazz are tanking, right? Because the Jazz are in games where their starters are playing, right? And they might be up 8, 9, 10, or whatever. And then those guys will literally not play a minute in the fourth quarter, right? So like it's not even like they're sitting guys from the beginning of the game. They're like, oh, we trying, and then all of a sudden, like your starters don't play a second in the fourth quarter. They had a time they were up
Coaches not even
17.
calling it timeout either.
They're not calling a timeout, they ain't going in a run. It's like, oh, like we just trying. Like that is the most obvious thing ever. I'm pretty sure y'all saw Garnett is now out. Nurkic is now out with a season-ending nose procedure. I can just leave it. I can just leave it at that. I'm pretty sure y'all never heard those. I don't think those words have ever been structured together ever in a season-ending nose procedure. Usually, a mama wear a mask or even just be out for a couple weeks or whatever. But they are trained to ethically be like, oh, our players are out, so I don't know what else you want us to do. Jazz,
The birthday
that
injury report.
that is along the lines of when CP3 and when we try to do like cheat the
Yeah.
the skills contest. They just train the
Competition.
most any way possible just so that they can type ethically. It's crazy though. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Actually, there's one thing what you said, Kelan, that
Uh,
I think could actually help with the tanking. I think it's the
uh-huh.
odds. The funny thing, some
Mm-hmm.
NBA history. I think when the Magic got Shaq,
Uh-huh.
and then the next year they got the number one pick again. The
Mm-hmm.
NBA decided, well, you know what, we need to the odds are too wide. We need to narrow the odds so that teams don't jump up into the lottery like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hinkie came along, and then the NBA said, no, these odds are too narrow. They overreacted to Hinkie and widened the odds. I think by widening the odds, how you basically have more teams around the middle that are probably incentivized, kind of how the Mavericks did when
Mm-hmm.
they got Derek Lively when they want to keep their top 8 pick. You had a few more teams like that were incentivized to jump up. I
Oh,
think
okay.
some of those teams jumping up is affecting some of the lower teams a little worse as well because teams are probably like I think the Mavs are a very good example where the Mavs were generally bad after they got Luka, but their record wasn't that bad, but they jumped up so high because the odds are
Yeah.
a little bit flatter. I think if they were to go back to what they did 30 years ago and narrow the odds a bit so that the bottom 5, bottom 6 teams have a much higher chance of getting those top 4 picks to ensure it's just like the bottom teams are getting these picks. It would make it harder for a team on the fringe to decide, okay, let me just tank the last few games. Because a team like the Bulls right now could say, you know what, let's just lose as much as possible. They could potentially jump up to the number 1 pick. So I think if you narrow the odds a little bit, maybe to the bottom 4, it will discourage some of those teams. And you will still have some tanking, probably. But you have less teams doing it. Where I think with the Sixers, it was just really Hinkie really doing it to a crazy degree by then, where you have a few more teams probably engaging in it. But yeah, I think a combination of that and starting off and all-star break, I think that will help a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's some really good suggestions to the NBA, but I don't see that. I mean, if you're doing it within the rules, it's fair game for me, right? I mean, like if you do the Jazz though, kind of doing it fairly weird, but if you know, but everybody know that people know like who tanking. I mean, like it's not like if the pretend, nobody pretending that tanking, the tanking. So I think, yeah, I agree that it's a little bit of overreaction. I don't think that they really got a tanking problem. I think they got a team's problem. Too many teams bad. That's the problem they got. Right. So of course, you have to get as we progress, you really have to do pick five. Couple weeks ago, I must admit I didn't do well. But Kelan and Alan did really well, 4 to 5. So hopefully I got a chance to redeem myself. So here we go. On Tuesday, we got OKC at Toronto.
Mm. I don't know because OKC doesn't have Sasha or Jalen, but they still came off a very good win because they beat the Cavs the other day. So they're still finding
That's the
ways to,
Cavs.
huh?
It's the Cavs though. So
Yeah, but they've been ready how you think, the honeymoon phase with James Harden. Whenever James Harden got a team, that team would just do, the team all of a sudden just do really well.
yeah,
So that was
yeah.
so that was a team that was actually playing well, right? So yeah.
For the
Maybe
Cavs.
that
Yeah.
just give me a pick.
Uh
I go to Raptors.
Oh, okay. I like going Raptors.
I think Raptors too.
He going Raptors. I gave it OKC. On Wednesday, Boston at Denver. Whoa, it's a big one.
Ooh, that is a big one. Ooh.
Boston at Denver.
Them,
Denver is
Denver.
struggling a little
Oh,
bit
but so
lately.
Denver hasn't been playing as good as of late.
Boston have been playing very well.
Yes,
I'll go with
I'm
the
gonna
Minute.
go. I can go
I'll go
Nuggets too.
Nuggets.
Nuggets. You two, Ankilan.
Yeah,
On Thursday, we got Miami at Philly.
Miami not really. And B still out, right? I go with Miami.
What difference down there?
No, but MB played. They're actually like
Yeah.
their record was a lot better before MB got hurt. They lost like a good like 5 or 6 straight at MB.
So we
Yeah,
going Alan.
Joel's actually playing really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with the Heat too.
Okay. I was going to Heat, man. Put me in a little bit of stress there, but I still do Heat. Friday, New York
I'll
at
go with the Cap.
Milwaukee.
Oh, Milwaukee? Oh no,
Yeah.
no, Knicks for sure.
Knicks.
Knicks. Okay, so everybody going for the Knicks. On Saturday, Memphis at Indiana. Bottom dwellers.
Memphis at Indiana. Lord have mercy. Memphis, I guess.
Memphis.
It was literally one of those I guess moments.
What were you, Alan?
You get Indiana for the heck of it. Why not?
Yeah, he gonna stay with Pistons regardless.
Uh, Josh still playing?
No, well, y'all hurt right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, besides the feelings?
Well, yeah, he actually hurt.
Okay. I give it Alan. I give it Indiana. That's it for the pick five.
Mhm.
But however, you're going to leave, you leave it, calling the game. I'll start.
Starting. Yeah.
Yes. I call a game on Wemby. I saw Wemby put down a move against, I think it was Kings. And it was like a man that tall
Mm.
with that handle. I mean, he might put on a move like how Curry's do, we put it behind the back. I mean, like
Mm.
the man do like a it's called
Oh,
stutter dribble.
you mean yeah,
Yeah, I mean, man, I just turn
yeah,
away
boy,
and dump the ball. And
yeah,
I just
Smitty,
said to myself, this is
yeah,
unfair. This
yeah, the
is
Smitty,
unfair.
yeah,
So I can't
yeah,
get on, baby. When they gonna stop doing this? When they gonna stop doing this, man? You making the NBA look bad.
looking too bad.
He's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, like, the man just torment the Kings.
Hey
What about
man,
you, Alan?
I ain't complaining.
He's definitely a problem.
You
Sorry, I'm
Alan.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
Alan. Yeah.
Yeah. Follow the game on Restro Central Twitter account. bringing back Game of Zones vibes for anyone who
Oh, yeah,
remember
yeah,
Game of Zones,
yeah. Yeah, boy.
the
Yeah,
matchup with Game of Thrones and the NBA.
yeah.
The Westeros Central Twitter account is starting to bring back
Because
that
see,
type of vibe with some of their
yeah.
tweets. So anyone who's a fan of Game of Zones, I would advise you definitely follow the Westeros channel,
Yeah.
Westeros Central channel on Twitter. Bring back some serious Game of Zones vibe. So yeah, call game on that Twitter account.
What about you, Kelan?
You might like this one. You might like this one. Hell, I call a game all West Indies cricket. Man, they are I'm not gonna lie, they're playing well, they're undefeated so far, and they just played Zimbabwe, right? Made 254 for six in their 20 overs and bowled out Zimbabwe for y'all can hear me, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, for 107 and 47, right? In 17.4 overs. So they're doing well so far. You know, Elk
yeah,
has to be pretty happy because he talked about the gear, but they're also not matching the play of the gear. So
yeah. Go on.
fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Gonna keep everything crossed here.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully they could continue that trend and continue doing well going forward.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So that's it for our court in session. For right now, the court is adjourned.